if I lose my keys and I go to think, which is mind.
Yeah.
Where are my keys? Where are my keys? Where are my keys? We don't find them because active mind, once we let it go and so when we stop thinking, then we drop into here. Our heart's more intelligent.
Hey, what's up, you guys? This is Parshell. Thank you for joining me again for the Call to Coach. I'm super excited to be hanging out with Simon Lavelle. He's actually an awesome guy, friend, very caring person, and I'm blessed to work with him as having him as my mentor. Amazing guy. I'm excited for you guys to hear more from him. But you guys know the purpose of this show is to dive into the why behind some of the most amazing coaches and leaders that I've met over time. And whenever I'm around, these people, I just get really energized, I get really pumped up. So I want to share that with you guys. So thank you for hanging out. Thanks, Simon, for hanging out with me and letting me come into your beautiful home. This is awesome.
It's good to be here.
Yeah. Tell me about how you got into this world of coaching.
Well, I mean, my journey really started through pain. I actually started off working on video games magazines. So I was working for national publications.
Okay.
And then I just reached a point in my life where, I don't know if you've experienced this, where everything comes crashing down, right? I lost my girlfriend, or she, cheated on me, and then I was back home with my parents, and I reached this turning point, and my mum said, what do you want to do with your life, son? And so at the time I was training in the gym, and she said, well, why don't you become a trainer? I'd lost my business, everything fell apart. And so I moved, I traveled to Cyprus for 3 months, became a personal trainer, and when I came back, I just had more confidence. I had a spring in my step. So that's really where my training and coaching started, was on the gym floor with clients. And over time, what I learned was that what moves the needle the most in people's change, in people's evolution, in people's growth, to help people become their truest self, is the brain, right? It's not just mindset, it's where our mind is set, but it's also our emotional intelligence. The more self-aware we become, the more the limitation part of us starts to fall away. And so I had gone through my own addictions. The trauma that I'd experienced with the bullying was linked to addiction. And so I had all these addictions, and I was making money, but I was sabotaging, right? I would make money and I would let it go. I'd make money, I'd let it go. So I knew that I had to work on me so that my business could grow.
Right.
So I started to invest in mentors. I started to invest in working with Tony Robbins at the top level. I spent $250,000 in personal development to really delve into, why I was living a lot of my life in fear versus abundance. And I work with a lot of entrepreneurs, and a lot of them are making money, but behind the scenes they're not actually happy and fulfilled. Why? Because they have a lot of extrinsic motivators, things that are driving them externally, money, fame, or just other things that are taking them away from dealing what's going on inside. So it really came through my own pain, my evolution, to then wanting to pass it on to others, because as you change, you're like, oh my God, I want to pass that on.
Yeah.
So that was my journey.
That's amazing. So the name of the series is called The Call to Coach. And so this is something I'm excited to dive into in terms of the answer to the question, is coaching something that you feel like you've been called to or has called you?
Yeah, absolutely. Through the pain, I think that when we experience pain and suffering, we don't want others to go through that same thing, right? So I think for a lot of people, they can be stuck in their own ways. But I think that if you are a coach, it's because for many people, they have that calling because of something that has happened in them, and so they have a lot of empathy for others, right? There's a lot of emotion that's happened in our lives, and so we then go into a stage of wanting to give back, because it's not about us, right? It's about us lifting others up through our own growth. I call it the catalyst of change, right? When we decide, what, I'm going to commit to change, we can actually change the whole system within a family dynamic.
Oh yeah,
right?
Generations.
Right, sometimes we think, well, I want that person to come to me and say sorry to me, right? Where if we become the catalyst of change, we can be the example to others, and then people rise or they fall away. Or they fall away for a certain period of time, right?
Sure.
And then they suddenly wake up and go, do you know what? Maybe I should not be so stuck in my ways.
Right.
So for me, absolutely it's a calling. It's a calling to give back, but also my currency of service is words. It's you changed my life. That's what's most important to me. When someone messages me and say, do you know what? I have a better relationship with my partner, or I've let go of that toxic relationship, or I've been willing to release my shame and now I feel free because I'm not holding on to that anymore. Because the truth is we have a very high suicide rate. We have a very high rate of people who are deeply unhappy because they don't know who they are. Okay, so they don't understand who they are at a core level. You know, there's a book called The 5 Biggest Regrets of the Dying. And one of those regrets is I didn't live a life true to myself. And another one is I didn't have the ability to express my feelings, right? So many people are suppressing so much, and what we need to start to do is start to speak up, start to, verbalize our truth, because it's when we avoid our story and we make parts of our past wrong that we stay stuck. And I know for a lot of entrepreneurs, the biggest thing is focus, time management, consistency. Well, all of that actually happens when you drop into your heart, because the heart is more intelligent than the mind, and there's a coherence between the two. So what we need to do is stop living up here. And I do it like this because what we do is we think from up here, but we don't act from here. So what we've got to do is we've got to start to create a coherence between the mind and the heart. And when we do that, when we spend the time in meditation, when we spend the time in having these practices, we start to live authentically. And that word is thrown out a lot, right? Live an authentic life. And people use it actually to manipulate a little bit. But when we actually do truly live the life that we are called to, the impact of that, people know because it's an energy, right? There's a reason why people, they call it like, I feel like I'm drawn to that person, right? They feel magnetic to me. Why? Because you're either being lifted up by someone or you're being drained by someone. Your body knows, your body's going to tell you. So a lot of my coaching actually is about understanding energy.
That's amazing. And he mentioned also you got shame and letting go of that stuff. And his book called The Black Ball actually changed my world. It's a huge shift for me in reading the book. So I'll link you guys to that book because you definitely have to read that. Everything he's saying is so true, is that once you let go of the stuff that you have suppressed, or at least start talking about it, your energy just raises, things start happening. Really, since I read the book, that's been my experience. It's just literally, I remember saying, I feel lighter.
But you didn't just read it.
Oh, I didn't just read it. That's true.
Because you can't just read a book and then be awakened, right?
No. You read the book and then you take action, because part of it is actually speaking up and actually getting that stuff released. So that's been amazing to experience. And so I know for me, my life has been affected, absolutely. And there are I'm sure, tons of others as well. But if you were to pick that one life that comes to mind for you that really resonates with you and confirms, you know what I mean, this choice to be and accept this call to coach, what's that one life that comes to mind?
Of someone I've helped?
Yeah.
What comes to mind instantly is someone that I worked with who she'd been sexually assaulted in South Africa at gunpoint, and because of that, she would go blood red whenever she went to speak up. And because of that, she didn't dye her hair. And through the Black Ball work, through full self-expression, because we tend to sometimes we tend to talk about it, but we kind of we don't speak about the truth of it, instead of going into the details, which is all locked in the body. When she actually fully expressed what happened in full detail, the blood red was gone. 30 years of it was gone. And so for me also in my journey, expressing, the sexual experience that I had when I was young, in that book, it's part of the story, I went through a massive spiritual awakening when I was because it was, I was resisting it so much. It was shame, it was embarrassment, it was something I didn't want to talk about. And so to me, the most profound work has been the Black Ball work, because we're talking about real lives changing at a very visceral level. We're talking about, the impact of when you have a black ball or shame is that it cripples action. It stops you. It stops your confidence. You're living in a state of fear, right? And you don't know why this is happening, so you're confused. There's a lot of confusion, like, why am I not moving forward? Why? Like, I want it, right? I desire this, but when you have a desire, but there's a subconscious part of you that's blocking it because you have this shame, you have this thing underneath that you don't want to talk about, what happens is you're not in alignment. And it's like, I use this analogy of, it's like going down a river in a boat, but we've jumped out the river and we're trying to paddle upstream.
Wow.
We can either use the flow of the river, which is alignment, or we can choose to jump out and try and go the hard route, right? And that is called change. That's where you have to go, do you know what? I'm aware, there's not being aware of something, which I can understand, right? We're not aware of anything, so I don't know how to change it.
Right.
But when we're aware, because we read the book like The Black Ball, or we have a conversation with a mentor, or we notice a trigger and then we say, do you know what, I'm not going to avoid that, I'm going to actually sit with it and get help. There's a difference then between having awareness and then not taking action, which is called a choice. And so we either live in non-awareness, or we live in awareness and we're choosing not to have the life that we want.
Wow.
Well, if we do that, then we should not complain about the life we have, and we shouldn't, frankly, bitch and moan about it, because we're choosing, we are aware, and we're choosing not to move forward. And one of the most important things is, when it comes to change, is moving into courage, right? But I often say that you can't just read a book on courage and be courageous. It doesn't work that way. You have to, like you said, take action and be courageous. How does that look? That would look like ending the relationship that's toxic. That would look like moving out of the area that you're living in because you don't like it. That would be, starting the business that you're fearful of. There's always an action that comes from the knowing inside that has been, holding us back. And often what it is it's a whisper, right? I call it a universal slap, right? So, if we're not taking action on the thing that we know we're going to do, we're going to get some kind of universal slap that reminds us. That may be anxiety, that may be depression, that may be stress, right? You're in a relationship for a long time, right? It's not working out, and you continue to stay, and you continue to stay. So you're going to get slapped. Like, you're going to get, your body's telling you, you continue to get slapped. So, like, you've got to notice what the universe is trying to do through the whisper, through the little conversation. And oftentimes you will hear that when you're not thinking about it. So you'll be out walking and suddenly this voice comes in of, this is what you should do. Well, that's the universe, that's spirit speaking to you. You've got to listen to that. And the example I use is with keys, right? So if I lose my keys and I go to think, which is mind, where are my keys, where are my keys, where are my keys? We don't find them, because active mind, once we let it go, and so when we stop thinking, then we drop into here. The heart's more intelligent, and the heart knows where the keys are. So then you let it go, and the heart goes, there's the keys, and then suddenly that goes from here to here, and then you know where your keys are.
Wow. I hadn't thought, so the heart is smarter than the brain.
And the heart is trying to communicate with the mind, and it's our work to create that coherence.
Wow. Now, for the people that you have worked with and that you have touched in this way, what is that feeling like for you to do this kind of work and to share this information? Like, what does this feel like for you?
To me, it's excitement, it's joy, it's happiness, and then I use that as a fuel to move into my next action, right? So someone says, you changed my life, or they get impacted by me, I feel that in my body, and then I use that as a window of opportunity to then create change for others. Because all the time we're getting a window of opportunity that opens, and we need to notice that, right? So I just use that as another fuel to move forward, and that might be sharing the story, it might be by doing a Facebook post, it might be by taking that energy into another conversation with a client and that story, right? Because when you make an investment in yourself, when you change yourself and then you go tell someone that they've helped you, you're giving them the gift to be able to take that to someone else, to use that as a story to help change them. And people don't realize that, right? So all the time there's windows that are naturally opening of energy throughout our day. And if we don't take those windows maybe, you go watch a movie, you come out and you feel alive. Use that as a means to take some kind of action, because it's not the movie, it's the energy that the movie creates for you to move. And so people say they procrastinate. Why? Because they don't use the window of energy that opens all the time. So if you don't use the windows that open all the time, what's going to happen is you'll have to cultivate the windows yourself. So my advice is notice the pockets of energy when you shift, right? That's why meditation is so important, because it's a way that you create an energy opening for action, you know? So people say, well, I don't have confidence. It's not true. It's that they don't feel confidence at certain times. So notice the times when you do feel confident, and then there's a very small window that opens when you're confident to move, to get the book, to order the item, to invest in the coach, to have the difficult conversation. But when you're feeling down, when you're feeling low energy, you don't want to do that,
Right.
because you're in a state of fear, right? So if you just had an argument with your partner and you're in a state of frustration, you're probably not going to want to write a Facebook post and start your business.
Right.
We've got to be emotionally intelligent around these things. It's all about emotional intelligence, self-awareness, and that is the true gift that we can give ourselves so that we can impact others.
That's amazing. And you guys as well, for me, like I mentioned before, my life has really dramatically shifted, you know, having met you. It really has, because it's just given me more awareness of myself. You know, now, because he pushed me to start meditating for like 60 minutes. And that's been incredible for me, because now it's like I can perceive my thoughts. I can perceive, you know, these things, so that way, as I'm aware of them, I can make a better choice, as opposed to just happening on autopilot. So that's been totally amazing to connect with you and learn that from you, for sure. Now, your style is very interesting in terms of how you actually coach. You mentioned like you kind of get it from the fitness and jumping into that initially, but how would you describe your style as a coach?
Intuitive, so I'm very in flow, like I'm very no BS, so I call it out as it is when I feel it, so I'm not filtering anything. But with that, I have to make sure that I'm in the right state before going into a call. So I have to have a check-in to make sure that my energy is right, because if I'm feeling this tension here, or there's this heaviness here, that's an energy transfer. Like I'm transferring my energy to you right now, because there's an energy field. So as long as I check in with that, it's flowing, it's intuitive, it's challenging, because people need accountability, yes, but they also need consequences, and they need to move. That's what people want. Yes, they want the strategy, and that's important, but people want to move into action, and the way that you do that is through challenge. Right? You got to challenge people against their beliefs, right? So once you understand the brain and you understand how people operate, it's a lot easier to get results, because you understand, oh, well, you know, they're nervous about talking about that, or they're living in anxiety, right? But it's also the responsibility of the client too, so you've got to be ready, right? So it's like the coach needs to be ready and the client needs to be ready. When both people are committed, that creates an energy for rocket takeoff, right? But when you have someone that says that they're ready, you have a coach that's ready, or someone that's not really in the right energetic space, it kind of stays here and you don't move forward. So it's an understanding of energy, and also full transparency for both people, because it needs to be a match. And that's why you need to find the right coach or mentor or guide that's right for you, of where you're at, and also where are they consciously? Where is that person in their life? Are they living authentically? Are they presenting themselves to be a certain way, but behind the scenes, you know, that they're not, you know, congruent, you know? So, you know, I'll be honest with you and tell you, like, I've got stuff going on right now, or like I can't serve you in the best way possible, because I don't want to, you know, I got to deal with that myself.
And that I had like tremendous respect for.
Right, yeah.
Tremendous, because it's transparent, it's authentic. I'd rather, you know, like you said, in terms of when we're coming together, for that to be where we're both, you know, there, committed, present, and, you know, available to that extent. And if something's going on, like it's all good. I'd rather that we're taking care of ourselves and getting correct. So,
and I think more people want coaches or want mentors that like are being real time with them. Because people can relate to that. You know, like if I'm sick, that's one thing. But if I'm also going through something, like that could also impact the other person. My intention needs to be of service to you. But it doesn't mean that I can't share my reality. Because what if my reality resonates with you because you've experienced something, and then because of that, you get to open up and do your best work. Because there are a lot of people out there right now, especially in the coaching industry, that it's all show. It's all like, I'm perfect, right? That's just not real. So we've got a big problem right now with people presenting themselves to be a certain way, but behind the scenes, it's not reality. And I try my best to as much as I can to share my authentic self. And there's a balance, especially on social media,
Sure.
right? What do I share? What do I not? What's vomiting too much,
Right. Right.
So that's always a bit of a challenge, but I think that now, especially, like, people want authenticity. They want that. They want vulnerability because people need permission to be who they truly are.
Yeah.
That's it, period, right? If we can live a life true to ourselves, we're gonna be happier, we're gonna be fulfilled, and we're gonna pass that down to other people.
That's so true. Now, in terms of what's next for you, and your mission and calling, what's going to be next for you? Like, let's say this year or the next year.
So I'm really working on conscious impact is a phrase that I want to talk about more. Like, conscious business. This is marketing beyond manipulation. Conscious enrollment, which is very different from hard selling. So we've got levels of consciousness, and we've got levels of consciousness also in business. So it's my mission really to start to help people wake up if they want to, so that the business can grow, yes, so that they can make more money. But in parallel with that, like, it's pointless having money if you're not truly happy,
right?
Because otherwise you just got money, right? So for me, it's about helping people to, yes, make more revenue, but at the same time also be self-aware, be conscious, not be reacting in anger or frustration or pain. And let's be honest, life is life. We're going to go through challenges. It's how we deal with them and how fast we pick ourselves up when we get knocked down. So for me, the word is conscious business and conscious impact.
Wow, that's amazing. Now tell us where people can find out more information about you if they want to connect.
SimonLovell.com. Just go there. You'll see the different free content and also different programs. So.
Absolutely. Now, one last question before we wrap up. If there was one word, because I really believe in simplicity, if there's one word that you can communicate to the audience that they could just take and go look up the definition and like dive into, like what's that one word for you that you would want to share with the audience and people who learn from you?
I'm toying between consciousness and awareness.
Yeah.
Okay. Conscious awareness, is that one word?
We'll do like
there you go. Look up conscious awareness.
A new definition, right. A new word to put in the book.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Simon, for really everything that you've done in your time and your willingness to serve other people. I think it's amazing. I hope to do this type of work as well, and to really dive into helping other people. So, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you guys for hanging out. We will chat again soon on the next episode of The Call to Coach.
See ya.
Peace.